what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Behind the Reel. Tonight we've got a special guest, Marty Hughes. Before we get into that, I just want to remind you guys we are doing officially announcing the 500 subscriber giveaway, and we'll be doing that within the next couple of days. So if you're interested in getting signed up for that, make sure you go over to my latest 6 Cents video that you'll see there. Comment on that video, get subscribe or get a comment on there. Make sure you're subscribed, and you'll get entered into that drawing. We'll be giving away a nice little sack of baits. Appreciate everybody who's been tuning in, all the new subscribers. Welcome to the channel. 520, so we've already passed up 500 here, and we're on our way to 600. So before too long, we'll be doing another 1,000 subscriber giveaway. Thank you guys, appreciate that. Also, for all of you guys that are joining in live, make sure you tune in to the comment section. Post any questions that you would like for me to ask Marty, and we'll kind of go off of that. And I feel like I'm forgetting something. If there are any events coming up in your guys' specific areas, I'll shout those out as well. I know we have one coming up on September 25th at El Dorado Lake, and that's going to be kind of a dual event between the Air Capital Kayak Anglers. The Southeast Kansas Kayak Anglers are going to be joining us for that one. And it will also be the last opportunity to qualify to fish the state championship, the Bass Nation state championship. So that's going to be held on October 2nd, Melbourne, and September 25th at El Dorado will be your last chance to qualify for that event. Also, shout out to the Second guys. They have an event coming up this weekend at in Fort Scott. So make sure you guys check that out if you are in the area. All right, guys, we've got a few people on here. Make sure you're commenting here. Shout out to Mr. Ben Posner. We're going to bring Marty on the line here and get a little bit behind the reel. Hey, what's up, Marty?
Howdy.
How you doing tonight?
Well, I made it through another day as a principal.
Yeah. How is that with all this COVID craziness going on?
Well, it's crazy. I can tell you that. But I'm not wearing a mask yet. But hopefully, knock on wood, it stays that way. But I think we have one school in our district that's having to wear a mask. But right now, it's fun seeing all the kids' smiles and up and down the hallways, and then interacting with them. It's been a fun year.
Yeah. James, how do you say that?
James Leggett.
Leggett. Okay. For some reason, I wanted to say Legat. I knew somebody with that last name, but I knew that wasn't right.
Yeah.
Shout out to James. He's doing some cool things up there, isn't he?
Oh yeah, they've got the Central States kayak series, and does a great job. They're just great guys. They're all about the angler, and I'm having a lot of fun with those guys too. So.
Heck yeah. Casual Bass Guy says yoo-hoo. And then James says leg get. Okay, perfect. All right, Marty. So there's going to be some people on here tonight that may not know who you are. So if you want to just give an introduction of yourself, kind of what got you into fishing, and then how you got your start with kayak fishing in particular.
Well, I think I was born with a fishing rod in my hands. if that helps the younger years, any.
Okay.
I'll just start with kayak fishing. I've always been an exercise enthusiast. I was a PE teacher. I was a runner in college, and loved physical fitness. And I was always looking for new things that I could move, and not my legs were kind of shot at the time, my knees, and so I was cycling to cut down on the pounding of the pavement, so to speak. And then I just on a whim, I just started looking for a kayak, and this is 24 years ago when I did that. And I found one on eBay. eBay was fairly new then, and I actually bought my first kayak out of Iowa. It was like a little whitewater type one, and it had a little hole in it, and you squeezed your legs in it. And I was kind of paranoid about going out it because I thought I'd tip over, like most guys do it today even. And I got a life jacket. This is really weird, but I was so naive that I bought a nose plug and a book on how to do an Eskimo roll. No kidding. And when I got it, I found out, well, I'm staying up stable. So then I took it down the river and I tried to fall out of it or try to tip it over to see what would happen. And I just fell out of it. And I'm like, oh, this is okay. So I started going to deeper water. And then I get out there and I had a bass boat at the time. And I went out and I noticed when I got into like some backwaters and stuff and the water was clear, the fish would just sit there and they just look at me. And I'm like, I'm going to get my rod. And so I bring it out. And after the first tug, it was over. And so I started from there. And I started out in Southwest Nebraska. I didn't know if anybody else was doing this, so I got on the internet and I looked around and I found like Chad Hoover, Jim Salmons, Dennis Spike, a guy named Slow Ride Thompson out of Texas. There was very few out there doing it.
And was this 24 years ago?
This is about 22 years ago, maybe something.
So Hoover and those guys have been around even that long.
Yeah, they all have a story of how they started. It's really cool how everybody started. Like for instance, the sit on top kayak actually started with surfboards, and guys would go out beyond the surf with a pin reel and a big rod, and they'd fish off their surfboards after they got done surfing. That's where the sit on top came from. And there's so many stories out there. My story's maybe a little different, but then we all had something in common. So I reached out to these guys and we just interacted. Chad was on a Navy ship at the time. Not even really? ABF wasn't even in existence. And then Jim Salmons was kind of like the legend back then already because he had already caught a marlin offshore and got drug out to sea, Yeah. Coast Guard had to rescue him, I guess, So, and I've actually fished with Jim Salmons in the ocean and it was epic.
Wow.
We were going for thresher shark 3 miles off La Jolla. And I was in an ocean kayak. I've got a picture in my man cave down here of me with the big barracuda that I caught. No sharks that day. He taught me a lot, but I just learned from these guys, as I kayak fished. And then I got into it more and more. I found another kayak in Florida that was a scuba kayak. Basically, I had a scuba tank holder, so I bought it. And then Perception came out with one, and I could go into all kinds of stuff with those. But basically, I had 3 kayaks. And then this guy comes up to me. I was like in my 6th year of doing it, and he comes up and he says, "Hey, nobody would go with me because they thought they'd tip over." So I had to demystify this thing, and my kids crawled all over them. They were in them, but nobody was doing this. In fact, I never saw a kayak anywhere in the Midwest, anywhere I traveled. And so then this guy comes up and says, "Hey, Marty? His name was Chris Farmer. Would you take me bass fishing?" I said, "Sure." I said, "Are you sure you want to get in the kayak?" And he goes, "Yeah, I seen you out there." And so he's a fly fisherman. So I take him out and he catches all these giant bass, and we get back in and he goes, "Here, I'm going to pay you." And I go, "No, I don't need paid." He goes, basically I was a guide for him, but I didn't realize it, And so he says, "You need to be a guide." And I said, "I'm not a guide. I just like to fish." He goes, "No, you need to do this for a business." He goes, "You'd be good at it." And so he gives me this big wad of cash and I'm like, okay. And so I go home and I told my wife, Diane, I say, "Hey, Diane, I actually made money fishing today." She goes, "It's about time." So that's where we were. And so that's kind of how the story started with guiding. And then
is that when Kayak Jack was born?
No, actually, no, not really. Kind of, but I'll get to that in a second on it. But that's a great point. So then the word gets out, and here's how much I charged a lot of money for these trips. $25 for the whole day, and it was gas money for me, and maybe a little more money. And so I started getting more and more gear. But anyway, I go to school, and my boss, superintendent, I was a teacher at the time. He was always making fun of my kayak fishing. Guys in town, do you actually use those on your trooper, or are they just there for display, for looks, like a Hot Wheel,
The Isuzu Trooper.
Yeah, that's still got it. And it was basically the first kayak hauler out here, I guess, So then he started calling me Kayak, and I'm late for a meeting one day, as I usually was. I come in, and he goes, "Well, there's Kayak Jack," and see, my real name is Jack.
Oh, okay.
So it's not Marty. So it's Jack. And so
Okay.
everybody started calling me Kayak Jack. So he told me then, he says, if you ever make any money from this, I get a cut of it. So he's always teasing me about. And by the way, that is Derek Jameson's father-in-law.
Okay.
So
Wow.
he knows the story on this. And his name's Dallas, and he's always given us a hard time about it, how he should get a cut of any money that I make. So I haven't made very much, so it's not going to make any difference anyway. So,
Yeah.
but that's kind of how it started, and then we just started doing trips, and in my summers, I was a teacher, like I said, and I coached, but my summers were basically free. It wasn't like it is now, where you go to a camp every single day anymore.
Yeah.
With the kids, it wasn't as structured. And so I just started fishing and guiding people and introducing people into the sport. And so a lot of the names that you see today might have been people that I guided or brought into it at that time.
Yeah. I know a few names from your area.
Mhm.
Some people out there might know Nate Gloria,
Yeah, actually.
Christine Fisher.
Mhm. They were probably in a, like, I found Nate in a kayak crawling around on it, and
Sure.
invited him, and that's kind of how it started. And Christine showed up at one of our tournaments, and she had gotten in one or two times, and it went from there. So built those relationships from the beginning by seeing them there. But that wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have been out there. You know what I mean? At that time, maybe later on, but who knows what the trajectory was from all this. You know. Uh-oh, it froze up.
Yeah.
Is that me?
Can you hear me there? But we've got a
Uh-oh.
familiar Mr. Ken Shippey.
Yeah. Hey, am I freezing up on you, or are you freezing up on me?
I'm not sure. I guess maybe if you guys are watching, you can tell us, are we both chopping up or is it just one of us? There's quite a few of you guys. Okay, Steven says it's me,
Okay.
but I
Well,
think we might be good now.
where I live in Nebraska, the technology, we got running water here now, but the technology is still coming along.
So Ken Shippey, also known as Coach,
Yeah.
he's up in northern
Yeah.
parts of Kansas, and you
Yeah.
guys probably cross paths every now and then.
Yeah, we're an hour away from each other, and great friends. I met him for the first time at Wanahoo when he got in. I can't remember the name of the tournament I think it was the Midwest Kayak Fishing Series when it first started.
Okay.
I met him there, and we've been good friends ever since.
Heck yeah. Casey, what's up? Steven's helping us out here. Steven referred to you as the professor today.
The professor?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe he can tell us.
well, I can tell you this: my ACT was a 7, and that's because I spelled my name right.
Sounds like we got it fixed here. I referred to you as the Godfather. I have heard that more
Yeah.
than once. Do
Yeah,
you get that?
Yeah, I get that a lot. Because I mean, and I'll tell you how that started. It was like 2004-ish, and I still had the magazine somewhere in here. What happened was a guy named I think it's Chris Fowler from Nebraska Game and Parks. He's a writer for the Nebraska Land magazine, and what he had discovered in maybe a Field and Stream magazine, that somebody was fishing out of a kayak. And he said he wanted to find somebody in Nebraska doing that. So he called every superintendent in the state of lakes, and nobody had seen one until he got to Rock Creek. And then
Really?
Hal Walker was a superintendent there. And he says, yeah, there's some lunatic down there at our lake, down there fishing out of a kayak. And so he got my information, called me. He says, can I do a story on you? And I said, sure, come on out. And he was out like 2 days later doing a story, and he did all kinds of photo shoots and everything, and about a 6 or 7 page story in the magazine. And from there it blew up. It was unreal. And I had the Crash Davis from Omaha did a radio show. The Lincoln Journal Star and Omaha World Herald did full pages in their papers. And Larry Porter came out. He's a well-known reporter from the World Herald, and he was used to reporting on me about being a football coach, because I did stories with him there. And it just blew up from there, from the media.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. That's awesome. So not the professor though, huh?
I don't know. You can call me a professor. That was a nickname back at Binkelman with some of the teachers. They call me the professor. I don't know why either, but I'm not that smart.
So you're the principal, right?
I'm a principal now. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I may have told you this when you came in, because you came into RMP to have, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Some Garmin electronics installed on your Hobie Outback. Did I introduce you to Brett, who is a former principal?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's what made me really want to retire. Just kidding. No, I've been in education for 40 years, and it's been an incredible journey. I've met a lot of people. I have a lot of friends, and I just, you just feel that tug of, you want to kind of shift gears. I've got some grandkids I want to see more. I like to fish a little more. I feel like, I'm still at the age where I can do a lot of stuff. And I'd like to fish more, but I mean, people say I fish too much anyway, but I don't think so. But
I feel like you get to fish a little bit more than I do. I'm lucky to fish once a week.
Yeah, I'm at 106 trips for the year, I think, right now. I like to get 130 to 140 in.
And is that going to satisfy in that amount of trips? What'd you say, 130, 140 trips? Mm-hmm. Are you going to be able to make that 2021 fish goal?
If I can keep averaging at least 15 a trip, I'll get it. I'm getting closer.
15?
15. If I average 15 fish a trip, but if I get desperate, one year it was December 31st. It was ice, and I didn't get to go in a kayak. But friend Kim McVeigh took me to one of his ponds. We drilled some holes, and I picked up 41 green sunfish that day and made it.
Nice.
Under the ice.
Heck yeah.
So you got to find a way sometimes. And there's pictures of me on lakes where it iced over as I was out there, and I had a hard time getting in, and stuff like that.
So Steven says somebody in the KBBT last year said.
Oh yeah. You know what, Steven, you're right. That's where it came from. Is because I was an educator, they called me the professional all the time. You're right. I forgot about that.
Shout out to Davis Custom Rods. If you guys are looking for a custom rod, hit him up.
Yeah, it kind of fits because I'm an educator, and and so in the fishing world they think of you as like a professor guy, but guess what? I'm not that smart, like I said.
So we were talking about kind of how you've mentored some people in kayak fishing. Talk about how you're getting the youth involved in kayak fishing in your area.
Youth have always been important to me in anything. When I was a teacher, I had Saturday things. I had an early bird program for 33 years before school where kids would come in. That's how we built our sports programs. But mainly it was to give them a place to go to burn off some energy during the day and just help them with their skills. And then it carried into all kinds of things, whether it was soccer or football or baseball, whatever. But then fishing came along, and I felt blessed because of what people did for me and how they taught me. So I thought, it's only right that I do the same thing for them. And so now, as I'm not coaching, I mean, I might coach one thing, maybe one event and track. That's it. I have more time. And so we started up a youth program here in Lincoln. We started it there first, and then we brought it here. And what we do is just have some free fishing nights for the kids. We bring out kayaks. Guys like Brian, I think Brian's on here, Brian Johnson. Mm-hmm. Guys like that come out and help us with the kids, spend some time. Jay is Silra. They're James Leggett. There's all kinds of guys that have helped with that. Josh Workman. And it just all kinds of guys. And then the kids see these guys and they see their setups and they go, I want to be like that. And it's all for it. I used to have to charge for the tournaments because I couldn't afford it at the time, and I had to get the awards, and I didn't have the sponsorship. Now I have the sponsorship. I'm blessed with being able to fund it myself. So I just it's all free for the kids. And what we do is we try to get the parents to support it a little bit to bring them out. And it's been nothing but great. Guys have donated lures and rods and reels to the kids, and every week I get something. And what I did this year, kind of cool, is I put lures in each kid's locker that was part of the club this year. And the first day back, it had a card in there and it said, "Welcome back. We've lured you back to school." So, and the thing is, I have a hunting and fishing brag board in my school with all the pictures of the kids. They can see themselves up there, and it gives them a connection to school. But the main thing is that we have a lot of kids, and a lot of people call these kids at risk, but I just don't think that way. I call them at promise. There's something about them that they can do. And you saw the one, maybe some of you guys on here saw the one young man that carved out the spooks, and he's selling them for $20 a piece. He's still selling them.
Really?
Yeah. And he carves them himself. And he started, his last name is Catcherside, like the catch board.
Yeah.
Only
yeah.
Catcherside lures. Isn't that cool?
Nice.
So he's got a little business going on the side. So just to see that, and to see the success kids have, I've had, a lot of young people that been able to, work with and so forth that are gone on to be very successful adults, So I just wish that more people would take kids fishing and get them outside, and develop some resiliency and some patience, for their lives.
Yeah.
And I've just built strong relationships with them that way.
Are you guys seeing? Do you guys have bass fishing programs at any of the schools around you guys?
I don't know. I just do it here,
Yeah.
And kids come from other towns.
Yeah. To be a part of it.
Yeah. And I'm blessed to have a lot of kayaks, so I can bring them out, and kids get in them, and it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't cost a thing. We get parent permission. We get all their information before they go. And I have a guy named David Armstrong. He's a crappie guy. He brings his crappie boat out. He brings the little ones in there with him and helps me catch fish and get a few tugs.
That's cool.
It's been nothing but successful. We teach them the safety of it as well.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we need our club needs to get back into doing stuff like that. We've done some events with the local Cub Scout troops and stuff like that, and it's always been really fun.
Yeah. Yep.
What about technology? So we kind of touched on you getting the Garmin Live Scope and stuff installed on your kayak there. How has that changed your approach, and what do you think about how technology is advancing?
Well, let's see. First of all, old guys like me in technology are like water and oil. So I mean, it's just I got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea, you know what Remind is? Yeah, it's a text message service, and you remind people. So I thought I'd give that a try with my teachers. So I send my teachers a message based on this deal that they told me at the school. Hey, try this. My message was to wear a Auburn shirt and be spirited and wear some jeans that day if they wanted. Well, it went out to the whole community and all the students. So kids were at school going, "Hey, Mr. Hughes, I wore my shirt today," and people were, "Do I need to go to work?" And so I really made an impact that day, and that's how I am with technology.
Yeah.
And then the button pushing and all that. I started out with, I think I told you earlier, I started out with a flasher as a kid, and that's what I used. But I didn't use it very much. But I'm more of an instinct fisherman. I read water, read fish, read structure from the surface on down a lot of times. And then I'm one of those guys, like I told you, I've drugged the weight on the bottom to find structure that way. And so when I go to look at electronics, it's different. And I've heard a lot of stories about this, how the younger fishermen are more into the technology part of it, and the older guys like me are more instinct, what we see out there in the water. And between the two of them, if you can merge the two of them together, that's pretty awesome. And so I have the electronics. It looks good on my kayak, but no, I would say that how it's progressed just in the last 2 or 3 years is amazing. And I have Panoptix Live Scope on mine. I've got another kayak that has the 2D. I'm so used to 2D that it's difficult for me to use the 3D, 3-dimensional, but I'm a vertical fisherman a lot of times anyway. And so it really helps me, especially if I'm drop shotting or if I'm fishing a structure, straight down and so forth, or in trees. So I think it's good. It's expensive, but I think it'll come down eventually. But there's always going to be something new. But I think it's about fit. Does it fit for you? Is it something that's going to help benefit you? I know some guys say that, yeah, you're going to get bigger checks in tournaments because you have technology. You know what? I know a lot of guys that don't use technology that win big checks.
Yeah.
you know, in any kind of,
especially in kayak fishing.
yeah, yeah. Now in the boat fishing, oh my gosh, those guys are machines. But even some of the older guys there, they don't rely on it as much. They rely on their instinct. You know, the flicker of one little shad could be a whole school of bass sitting there, and
Yeah.
you miss it by looking at your screen all the time. So a lot of times I'll turn my screen off and just fish, and that helps me get back to where I was, because I fished so many years without it. But I think it's a benefit. I think, you know, if you can learn how to use it, and there's a lot of YouTube videos out there, and just going alongside somebody that's using it. That's what I do. I go alongside guys, and we figure it out together, you know, and the screens and so forth. And I know with your business, you know, you guys just sell a ton of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. And it's becoming more popular on the kayaks. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
seemed to be more of a big boat, you know,
yeah,
accessory, but now you're
yeah,
starting to see a lot of guys that are putting the Mega 360. I run the Mega 360 on my
yeah.
kayak, and shoot, I might have to do a Mega Live, you know, when it comes out,
Yeah.
Hummingbird's version of Live
Yeah.
Scope. So
I am going to recommend though that, you know, if you're a kayak guy and you want the true essence of kayak fishing, just grab a couple lures, one rod, no sonar, no motor, and go paddle or pedal whatever you got, and go out there and enjoy it and feel and get the feel of that tug, and that's what it's about.
yeah,
You know, for me, that's what it was for a lot of years, and I guided that way. You know, with people, and they learned how to fish that way. You know, in essence, and I see a lot of guys that start out. They start out before they even get on the water. They've already got all the bells and whistles, and then it
yeah.
takes away from that true essence of what it's really about. And for me, it's fun to see guys experience that, uh, the old school way, I guess, of doing it. You know,
The purity of kayak fishing.
yeah, there's the word you're looking for. It. Yeah, yeah.
What? Okay, so that brings up a good point. I remember, and I'm fairly new to this. I mean, I didn't start kayak fishing until 2015,
Mm-hmm.
but I've been around since then. And pedal drive kayaks were pretty new, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
and just starting to really gain in popularity. And there was kind of a little bit of pushback on, you
Mm-hmm.
know, is this fair? Is there an unfair advantage to the guys that are pedaling? Like, did you embrace that advancement in technology right off the bat?
Great question. So the weird thing is, the cool thing is, I lived in Oceanside, California for several years, and that's where Hobie's made. I never even knew that, and I
Okay.
lived there. I lived there and didn't even know it. I knew they
Yeah.
made sailboats there. You know, I didn't know that Hobie made kayaks there. It was kind of cool. No, when they first came out, I remember I was like, man, I'll never use one of those, because I paddled what 18 years before that.
Yeah.
You know, and I was
Yeah.
like, I'll never do that. So I go to the TOC, the old TOC
Yeah.
down in Texas, and I had a paddle kayak. There were just a few pedal ones, and at first you didn't see any
Yeah.
pedal ones. But when it did come out, there were guys. I remember one morning in the tournament, this guy looks over at me, and everybody's there, you know, and he goes, "Hey, you want to race to the bridge?" Because he had a pedal kayak, and everybody laughed because I was a good paddler. And so we raced, and I beat him.
Really?
And then another guy, I had to go, I think about 3 miles, and I beat the pedal guys to the spot in my paddle kayak at 3 miles.
Yeah.
And what I did is I cut through the lily pads. They couldn't get through there, and I could. So there's some advantages to the paddle versus pedal. But
Sure.
anyway, it you know, there's no way the arms are going to keep up with the legs eventually.
Yeah.
So the pedal's going to win out. But what I found out though, I was against them. And then when I found out, that I could get more casts in per hour by pedaling, that's what sold me. You
Yeah.
know, I still love the purity, like you say, of the kayak fishing, but the pedal power just gets me there maybe quicker, maybe not, but it
Less
does.
effort.
Less effort, less energy expenditure. Let's put it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
And then when I get there, I'm going to get way more casts in than if I didn't. And using that forward and reverse to position yourself and so forth. I did have a 12-foot PA12 Hobie for a while. It just was too big for me. I just like the Outback, so I use a little bit smaller. I want to maneuver more, and I want to really get in the skinny water. So that's what I use. But I also use, all kinds of kayaks. I have all kinds. I have the Jackson Kilroy. I have some Emotion kayaks, and I still love to paddle. And so, and some guys, there's a lot of guys that still paddle. I know Brian Johnson paddles, and it's not about, I can afford any kayak I want. I mean, I just choose to do those, you
Yeah.
know.
Drew Gregory's still paddling, ain't
Yeah,
he?
yeah, because he grew up. Well, not grew up. He basically did. He knows nothing but the paddle on the river, and so
Yeah.
to go and change all that, it's like taking a right-handed basketball shooter and trying to make him a left-handed shooter from long range. Or it's going to take time.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, so before I forget, let's get to this question here. What do you do with your partnership with Bass Pro?
It's a multi-million-dollar contract. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's not. I probably spend more money than I would ever get. So
That does help out with like the youth program. Is that right?
absolutely, yeah. They sponsor all of the awards for the youth, and by the way, they have between Cabela's and Bass Pro, they've given us kayaks, they've given us gear for the kids, boxes of stuff, and we pass it out. The partnership from Bass Pros was not a deal where I went up to them and says, "Hey, can you be a sponsor for me?"
Sure.
It was not even like. In fact, all of my sponsors that I have, I never asked. They came to me, and a lot of it's because of maybe the niche that I was one of the first guys that did it. I don't know, but I am passionate about it and helping the younger generation and spreading the word. So maybe that's it too. I don't know, but I just remember I was in Southwest Nebraska several years ago, and they found my name and they said, "Can you come out and do a kayak fishing seminar for us?" And so I drove the 6 or 7 hours out there, and it went good. And they said they had sold like 6 or 7 kayaks a year before. That year, after I did the seminar, they sold in the hundreds.
Nice.
And I had a lot of people there. And then I came back the next year and did another one, and that's when they called me up and says, "Would you like to be a partner with us in all this?" And that's when I signed a contract with them. And then it went from there. But my
Was
partner,
that Cabela's or was that Bass
that
Pro?
was Bass Pro. That was
Okay.
Bass Pro. And so with that, there was they had where you had rods and reels and all equipment and all this stuff. It's changed, and now my partnership is more of when I do a seminar for them, I cannot get paid. You can't get paid if you're on the pro staff. So they basically I receive gift cards for my service for them, and then my jerseys, clothing, and sometimes they'll throw in some stuff, But basically, it also gives me protection. I get my insurance through them, so forth. And then it's just basically, letting people know that it's a great place to go shop for your stuff, But I don't, I mean, it's not like I'm getting paid millions to be with Bass Pro Shop. I just love them. I've loved them for a long time, and I'm eager to continue to help them.
Heck yeah. Well, they're lucky to have you.
Yeah.
All right, we got another one here. Casey wants to know, do you see in the future the professional series starting to put regulations on electronics?
Wow, great question, Casey. I see divisions maybe evolving. Like I even thought of a paddle only tournament. There's guys coming up with no electronics tournaments now. Maybe no motors. There's motors versus no motors. It used to be, yeah, you can use a motor if you're disabled, or have a disability.
Yep.
Now it's like, let's use a motor to get there really fast and not use as much energy. The true essence of kayak fishing for me was the exercise part of it. And a lot of guys get the motor and they go back and say, "You know what? I got in this because I wanted to move a little bit." And so they go back to it. I see that happening a lot now.
Yeah.
I would say that eventually, I see there's going to be an unlimited thing where it's just whatever you have, whatever you can afford to get, and you can use, because in tournament fishing, everybody's looking for an edge. I don't care what it is, whether it's basketball or fishing or whatever. You're always looking for an edge. There was a receiver for the Broncos. I can't remember his name. Right, this kid played for Nebraska. That would just trim his pads as light as he could so he could be faster than everybody else. We're all looking for that edge within the rules, of course.
Yeah.
But I do see the top elite level being one where they do have the sonar, they have the motor, they have all that stuff, because that's just you can do that. But I do see there some tournaments maybe having limits because they want to bring in the guy that maybe they want to see their skills based on that. For me, I think the ultimate way to figure out, this is just my own opinion, but I think to really find out who the most skilled angler is, put them in a paddle kayak with a pole, whatever lures they're going to bring out there, or poles or whatever, and you paddle to where you're going to get, and there's no electronics, no anything, you just fish that way. That, to me, that would be more of a skill effort. But again, the guys that can read technology, that's also skill.
Yeah.
That makes sense? So there's
So do you think, like, and this could vary from person to person or region to region, but do you think that if you did that event where it was no electronics, paddle only, and then you did, you know, in the day and the conditions, all that could play a factor, right? But do you think that the same guy that wins that no electronics, you know, paddle only, do you think he could also win the event, you know, where you've got live scope, you've got a pedal, you've got a motor? Do you see a lot of that, or do you think the guys that are good in one are kind of lacking in the other?
You take a guy like Russ Snyder, Jody Queen. I don't care what you do with them; they're gonna be up there. They're just that good. They just have the instincts and the skill. I think, but I do think it's an edge if you can see what's under the water. It's your set of eyes.
Yeah.
You know, to see under the water. If you don't have that set of eyes, you don't know if they're there or not. But that's, for me, that's for when I go kayak fishing. For me, that's the purity of it, is that I want to cast until I find them. It's like that puzzle of the day, you know. Whereas if I go out there electronics and I found them, oh well, I'm okay, I'm good, I'm done. I want to figure out the puzzle, and that helps me become a better angler. And whether I'm in tournaments or not, you know, that's I just like to be challenged that way, you know.
I think that's what most of us are intrigued about when it comes to bass fishing, is just, you're never going to master it, no matter what kind of electronics you have, no matter what kind of kayak you have. There's, you know, you can go out and be Kevin Van Dam or Russ Snyder or Jody Quinn, right? And there are going to be days where you struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people, this is coming up too a lot, you know, about they want to place or win tournaments. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care. It's like Mike Iaconelli says this, I think, too. I don't care what level you're at, whether it's a league or a Saturday morning gathering, Sunday, you know, whatever, or a major tournament or a series. It is hard to win a tournament.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's just hard to win. But being consistent is not as hard. If you can be consistent, that tells yourself, hey, I'm doing pretty good as an angler and my skills are up there. But to win one, you know, those major elite fishermen in the bass boats, if you look at their record, they might only have one or two major wins in their life.
Yeah.
But if you look at their top 30s and top 20s, it's like 50, 60, 100, you know, up in there. So it's about consistency, and that's why they have the Angler of the Year things and all that, you know. And you look at it, you go, I want to be consistent and stay up there. If you win one, great. You know, there's a little luck involved in that, and the length of the fish. To me, the number of fish you catch is skill. The length of the catch is luck. You know, now in some regards, though, if you can find the bigger fish in schools, yeah, that's skill too. So,
sure,
some guys will argue that, but that's the way I fish.
Drop some names and some Nebraska guys that are constantly in the money?
Well, James Francis doesn't live in Nebraska. He lives in North Dakota now.
Yeah.
But we consider him a Nebraskan.
We've had him on the show.
Huh?
We've had him on the show.
If there's a guy that can break down water, it's James Francis.
Yeah.
I would say that he is probably one of the best. If he fished in the boat tours, he would do pretty well, even at that level. He's really good. Kevin Workman has been around for a long time, just consistent. Nate Gloria has been around a few years, but the guy he's a tenacious angler, an aggressive angler, and just works hard. But he also just knows water and knows how to catch fish. I mean, he just he's got that skill. Josh Workman, who doesn't fish as much, he does a lot of trips for Cabela's now, but
he's come down here and whooped up on us a few times.
Yeah. Andy Moore, about my age, close to my age. He's one of the top names. Brady Storrs came up through our youth thing, feeding youth events. He's a top name. There's so gosh. I'll tell you a newer one that's been in is Chris Longshore out of Hastings, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Yeah, he and Bobby Rubeck. Those guys know how to catch big fish. Out of Omaha, you got Ricky, James, James again. All these guys. I don't care where you go. In our tournaments, I don't know how it is in Kansas. I know Missouri and a little bit down there, but if Nebraska is just deep in quality anglers, and a lot of it is because I think a lot of it is our bodies of water aren't that big, and you can really improve your skills rapidly because you can really focus on a certain part of a lake and get better at it. I really think that's an advantage for us because we have the same kind of topography or geography as the bigger lakes, but it's just condensed.
I've wondered because there's a lot of hammers that come out of your area.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you guys have really good fishing? I mean, is it pretty tough compared to other parts of the country? Like, is part of the reason why you guys tend to be better anglers, is it because you have to kind of struggle to get those good bites, or
there's big fish here. There's pretty good fishing. Lately it's been tough because of the COVID thing where everybody destroyed the lakes and devoured all the fish,
Yeah.
But before that, though, I think a lot of it is that we share so much. We share with each other, we help each other, and I think that goes a long way for your region or where you're at. It used to be guys are pretty secretive, but I've seen in the last 3 to 5 years where James Francis will be the first guy to just say, "Hey, come with me, and I'll show you how to do this." And I do the same thing for guys. And some guys are like, "Man, I'm not touching finesse," or some guys, "I'm not touching power." I think if you're going to be a really good angler, you have your main thing that you do, your skill, but don't be afraid to reach out and do other things because sometimes it's a little more fun that way, to do that. And by the way, I want to mention Pat Lassick too. Pat Lassick's a hammer.
Yep.
There's just so many guys up here.
There's a lot of them. Okay, if you were to set up a new angler, what would your basic tackle box and rod reel look like?
Man, I wish I had it in front of me. It's up in my truck.
You have a specific setup that you'll put your new people on?
I would put them on a spinning rod.
Yeah.
A medium with a fast tip. I would put on some 15-pound neon braid with a 14-pound fluorocarbon leader, 6 foot long, and I put a Nico on the end of it. Okay. And that's how I've guided. Everybody's been successful with it, and you can kind of tinker with other stuff too. I throw a weightless lizard on there too and let them experience some of that top water and catch them. Because for me, when I take somebody out, I want them to experience not just the fishing but the catching. Although I do say we're going to go for a paddle, and we might catch a fish.
Yeah.
But that would be the basic setup, because a lot of people, they need practice with the bait caster before they can do it. Whereas a spinning rod, they can catch on pretty quick.
What's your favorite Nico worm?
A TRD, Molten Craw, with a.
You didn't want to give that up, did you?
Oh, everybody knows I do that.
Okay.
It's to me, you can show, you still have to fish it, and I am going to say that there are techniques to fishing it that will catch you more fish than not. When you're using an Nico or any lure, everybody has a certain twitch that they use or a certain speed or how long they wait. You got to be, when you finesse fish, you got to be patient. And
so this Molten Craw, this is like a kind of a reddish, brownish,
orange.
Orange, okay.
Orange and black, and I glue the weight in. I have a video on YouTube about it under Kayak Jack. There, it shows you exactly what to do and how to use it. And I use I like to use
Kayak Jack on YouTube.
Yeah, it's KYAKJAK on there, and then I like to use a 2-watt VMC with a weed guard on it. And the thing you got to remember though is, like, I try to sharpen my hooks, but sometimes, so like if I'm in the rocks and stuff, after I catch a few fish, I'll change the hooks and put a new one on, and then go home and sharpen them again because they get dull all hooks get dull with the way you fish that. So you want to make sure your hooks are sharp, otherwise you'll lose fish on there. And I'll go smaller hooks sometimes. It depends on what I'm fishing and vegetation wise.
Okay,
Ooh.
so we know about the Nico rig, right?
Yeah,
So we kind of know your go-to. What's another one other than that?
So I see Casual Bass Guy said, "What's your go-to lures?"
Yeah,
The Nico. Now remember, I used to fish like about a 8-inch, no, more of a 6-inch finesse worm. It was a KVD, those floating ones,
yeah,
and I put a wide gap round ball jig on it, and I used to just catch a lot of fish out of that. That was my main one. Then I progressed to Nico, the Ned. A lot of guys don't like Ned, but Ned works, man. I don't care, it works. I always have a Nico tied on. I always have a weightless lizard tied on,
really.
because if I get a strike like top water or whatever, I'll throw that weightless lizard. If I see like something flicker, I'll throw the weightless lizard, and they get it. They bite
And
it.
you're working that like a topwater?
I just kind of twitch it along and make it look as real as possible. And I like to make it land on the shore and then bring it in, so that I don't scare them or spook them. I'll usually have a top water on of some sort, buzz bait or a pop R or something like that, just in case there's something action on top. And then I don't use, I have spinner baits. I don't use them much right now. I usually have a square bill or a jackhammer on. And so if I were to use two lures, it'd be the jackhammer and a Nico. I can make a living on that,
Yeah.
And then of course the square bill I use if I want to pause something, I'll do that on that. But and I try to resemble whatever I'm fishing in, bluegills or shad or whatever it is. But those are the main ones. Trying to think. I use drop shot a lot. And that's basically so I'll carry up to 3 spinning rods with me a lot of times, but
Really?
I do throw a bait caster too. It just depends.
What's your drop shot setup look like?
Basically it depends on the depth, but up to a 1/2 ounce drop shot weight. I like the long ones.
Yeah.
Don't like round balls. Round balls get stuck too much. And up about, it depends on the depth of fish, between 6 inches and 2 feet or whatever. I'll have a drop shot hook on there. I like the ones that spin around, BMCs. And then I use, gosh, I can't think of the name. Man, you caught me by surprise on that one. It's a very popular drop shot worm. What's the power?
One of the Maxent ones, or
It's a scented one, but it's power.
the flatworm?
Yeah, the flatworm. This flatworm, yeah.
Yeah.
I use that in shad and green pumpkin. That's all I use. And I do have some other drop shot stuff, but those are the main ones that I use.
Nice. All right, we got another one here. Not a kayak question, but he's headed over to Table Rock over Labor Day, taking the big boat. Besides the Ned rig, what 3 lures would you take along this time of year? And any other tips specific to maybe Table Rock or Ozark style of fishing?
Well, I won at Table Rock on a big one. I think there was 87 guys, and I won it with a Nico and a fluke.
Somewhat recently, or within the last few years?
It was right when COVID hit.
Yeah.
Right when COVID hit.
Yeah.
I won the KBF trail and the Table Rock Moyak there.
Yeah.
And I won it with a Nico. Like I said, Nico. What I did here's a little tip for you. It was flooded then, but a fluke works good. I tie a swivel about 2 to 3 foot in front of it, so it brings down a little bit, and I just use a fluke Tennessee shad. And then a Nico Molten Craw works good. Ned rig works, but have a spook tied on, a big spook, and make sure you walk it. You'll get bass that way. Always have that on. A whopper plopper works good there in bone. Monkey butt. Those two work pretty good there. If the wind's blowing, go to the wind blown shorelines, man. You'll hammer with a whopper plopper.
Heck yeah.
That's all I did there.
He caught me looking up your Molten Craw there.
Yeah. John is stopping while I'm talking.
I may or may not have a couple of those on the way from Tackle Warehouse right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
He says, "Where the hell are you getting your flatworms, Jack?"
Ah, great question. You know, they're sold out everywhere. So I found what I did is I just searched the internet till I found like a tackle shop, and then that's how I bought them. And
Did you have to like call them or order it over?
I just ordered online,
Yeah.
but I ordered like all they had because I knew that there was a shortage of them, and you can't find them. You can't find them in your major outlets. And so I've got some. If you want to stop by 1403 J Street in Auburn, I can give you some.
CBG, he's here in Wichita,
Okay.
and he got into kayak fishing here fairly recently. Got his Hobie passport, 10 and a half for me.
Yeah.
And before that, he was in a float tube, and he was slaying them out of a float tube.
Yeah. Well, he's a fisherman, I can tell.
Yeah.
But I just don't like my legs down here, man.
Yeah, dangling.
Yeah, I just, since Jaws movie came out, I just haven't had it.
So we have kind of a local legend. He's been in like in Fisherman magazine and stuff like that. Well, he's known for he fishes out of a float tube, and he targets flathead with artificial lures, which is pretty rare to do.
Yeah, that's big up here.
Yeah,
with crankbaits.
Yeah, so he actually, his favorite technique is a big jig with, actually he gave some to me. Here, give me a second.
Okay.
Some of these gulp eels.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And they stink. They're big 10-inch, worm-looking things. And he puts those on the back of a big jig and catches flatheads with them out of his float tube.
Yeah.
So my first float tube experience was here pretty recently. I went out with them, and we didn't catch anything, but it was different having your legs down there for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. That's not for me. Yeah, but I catch a lot of catfish on lures. And the Nico is a great catfish lure.
Yeah.
If they're there.
Yeah, you really have a good fight catching one of those on your spinning setup, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's a picture of one. I'll get it for you. Oh man, it's on the wall here. It might come off. You see that? Can you see that?
Oh, nice.
That was on. I think that was on a spinner bait though, but that was in my little 10-foot kayak. That was a 34.5-inch channel.
That was a channel?
Yeah.
Holy crap. Yeah. That was a big one.
Yeah. My biggest is 35 on a crankbait, 35-inch.
Really?
Yeah. I better keep that. Just keep that. So anyway, yeah. I'll give you another one. Here's another one. That's a 35-incher. Wow. That was on a crankbait.
That's crazy.
On the
what do you? Well, here I'll ask this question first. The All-American series. Have you done any of those?
Yeah, I've done 2. The issue for me there was just timing of it. And I wanted to do all of them, but it just didn't work out because of my duties here. But I'm wanting to get to Lewis and Clark and Truman so that I can get at least 4 in, just to fish them.
Yeah. Heck yeah. What do you think about that? Like, so I know we did that Midwest kayak fishing series, right? So that's traditionally been an online thing, I believe.
It started out that they kind of simulated what I did early on with the Kayakapalooza. They just basically did the same thing, and it was the Kayakapalooza and the Midwest series were the same tournaments, just 2 different guys running them.
Okay. And so Nate took it over. They did a live series, and that was, I thought, really well received, but it didn't come back. So I was kind of happy to see the All-American. Geared specifically to the Midwestern guys. Yeah. What do you think about that? What do you think about, the future of kayak fishing and on like more of a national scale as well?
Right now, you've got a lot of, I'm trying to think of the word. It's diluted a little bit right now because you got to kind of pick and choose what you want to do. Yeah. The KBF's taking a different direction. Hobie's got a great series. All-American's a great series. All-Americans, but it could be a national series. Yeah. There's guys that come from all over for it. I like how it's run. I like how they're all run, basically. But the thing is you just can't do them all. No. At some point, if you think about it, even in the elite Bassmaster type stuff, of course, the Bassmaster is Super Bowl. I don't know if we really. I think KBF has had the Super Bowl, but what really is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But at some point, there's going to be one. Is it going to be the Bassmaster for kayaks? Those are questions to be answered yet. I don't really know what to say there.
You've got a few of them, right? I mean, you've got the KBF National Championship.
Yeah.
You've got the Hobie BOS TOC. You've got the KBN National. You know, the Kayak Bass Nation, or no, the Bass Nation Kayak. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The one that they're running in conjunction with the Bassmaster Classic.
Yeah. I have fished every KBF National. I may not go this October again because of my job here, and I'm trying to finish strong. I have fished the day before the Hobie. I saw what that was all about. It was great, and I have fished in the first Bassmaster one, the one this year.
Yeah.
And the Bassmaster, to me, the Bassmaster could be the Super Bowl. Hobie has done such a great job of getting some of your top anglers in the country. So it's right there. And then, of course, KBF, though, has had, KBF has had it too. So it's really hard to say which one is somebody's going to emerge. Somebody's going to emerge at some point. And one is going to be considered, this is the elite tournament for all kayak anglers. It used to be the TOC in Texas was that event, and it was growing. And then it just kind of went different ways, So and KBF took off. I don't think there's really a true Super Bowl yet,
But some pretty big Super Bowl paydays in all of those, really.
Yeah, the biggest payout's been $100,000, and that's
KBF.
Yeah. And I don't know where that's headed. It just depends on the work they put into it. And where they get it to. I mean, the Hobie series is a great series, like I said. It is limited. It's kind of like your Bassmaster Classic in a way, where only the elite are going to make it. So that's a little different in KBF, where we had 751 one year.
Wow.
And you had to kind of find a place in the lake to fish.
Yeah.
So
Casey's signing off, thanking you for all your tips, and he's going to retire for the night. So thanks for joining us, Casey.
Yeah. Well, we got 6 hours left of this?
Yeah, 6 more hours, guys. So don't everybody go to sleep all at once here.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, and we could probably go on all night. So
and guys can watch this later, right? I mean,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. So you can just pick up wherever we left off, Casey, when you wake up. Just first thing, just pop it right back on.
Yeah.
Where do you think we are? Like, how far are we, or what needs to happen in order to give people a shot at making a living from kayak fishing?
That's a great question. First of all, it's so hard to get sponsors. I think, what is it? Non-endemic, is that what they call it? The word for like if you had Cheerios, Fruit Loops or whatever sponsoring your kayak.
Yeah.
Somebody, a business that's a company that's not even involved with kayak fishing.
Gotcha.
Like your race car drivers, things like that. Company. For instance, for me, I have Globe Life Family Heritage. They sponsor. They actually sponsor me.
Like Outdoorsman Coffee Company.
Yeah, and they pay. They basically pay all my entry fees for whatever I want to do for the year. And that gets their name out there. You see what I mean? I think you have to get several of those. Like what I've seen, let's take Christine Fisher, who's she's an elite angler. I don't care, male or female, she's an elite angler.
Oh yeah.
Let's get over it. For the guys out there that are worried about it, she's the real deal.
She's better than you.
Yeah. Yeah. And she can back up whatever she does,
Yeah.
And I see her emerging as that professional angler because she's getting more and more sponsors I can tell they're reaching out to her, and I don't know what we've never talked about it, but obviously she's being supported by somebody to be able to do this full time.
Yeah.
I think you have to have several. It's a lot of times it's one of three things. You can have a lot of money to start with and do whatever you want. There's people like that.
Yeah.
You can get a lot of credit cards and try to, use credit cards to make it happen.
Yep.
Or you can get sponsors and do it that way to
Or
financially
a
support.
mixture of.
Yeah, a mixture of a lot of things out there. So, or a mixture of all that, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think that there are people already that have emerged to that level.
Yeah.
I can't say, but I do know that Christine is fishing. She's fishing the country. I mean,
Yeah.
I think guys like Russ Snyder's, Jody Queen. I don't know if they're retired from something or they're doing something now. For me, personally, I'm going to retire and I have a pension, which enables me to do that. Does that make me a professional? I don't know.
So okay, so that brings up a good point.
Yeah.
Are you going to fish the national circuits more once you're done with the school stuff?
I'm still questioning myself on that.
Yeah.
Is it worth being away from my grandkids even more? Is it I have my wife, my family.
Would she go with you? Like, is she down for that life? No.
No, she won't. She will not get in my camper.
I got you. Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah.
The thing is that I want to do that, but I have to choose. I can't. You can burn yourself out trying to do it all.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be very selective. I do know this. I like the All-American. I'm going to fish a local series. I want to fish. I like to fish. I'll tell you. I'll be honest. I want to fish the Moyak next year just for something different. Because I live in the Quad State. I'm 8 miles from Missouri. I'm a half hour from Kansas, and I'm about 20 minutes from Iowa.
We might have something cooking that'll get you to visit us down in Kansas next year.
Yeah. So it's whatever, like I just feel like doing, I guess. But it may change from year to year. But I do want to fish the top level stuff and qualify for it. But I don't know if I can get on the road and fish all that other, I just want to try to qualify, basically. But I now want to meet new people. I am going to start next year destination trips. I'm trying to get it where I'm doing one a month, where guys I'll set up the trip. They say they want to fish South Dakota and they want to fish for smallmouth. I will set the trip up. I'll have one or two customers, clients. They show up. All they have to do is show up. I take care of the lodging, all the equipment, all the rods and reels. They just have to have a license and show up. And I take care of in the food. I take care of everything. And I've done that in the past, but I want to do it on a bigger scale and then guide people that want to know more about it. I'm not an expert. I'm learning right along with them all the time, but it's just, and for me, it's the experience of it, getting them out there and having fun. And I've done this a long time, guided a long time. And I just like to see other people experience what I did and then share that with everybody. So that's where I'm at. Who knows? I don't know if I'll live that long.
So you think like the more exposure that the sport gets, and that's something I want to mention before we end this podcast, is I feel like you are a true ambassador for the sport.
Mm-hmm.
You're not necessarily like, companies don't reach out to you because you're really good about selling the brand necessarily. I feel like, companies reach out to you because they see the sincerity in your love for the sport and your passion to see the sport grow.
Yeah, true.
So I guess where I'm getting with that is, as the sport grows, there will be opportunities for companies to, and let's face it, like, companies are going to have to be able to make money off of kayak fishing for people to get the opportunity to fish at a professional level.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean, it's on ESPN now, or, like, I don't know what that looks like, but the more spotlight that we can put on kayak fishing, the more opportunities we'll all have.
Well, it depends on the direction it goes, because it's changing so much. I mean, 5 years ago, who thought we'd be using motors all the time?
Yeah.
Who thought 10 years ago, who thought we'd be using pedal power?
Yeah.
And now basically we've turned it, and I'm not meaning this negatively, but we've turned it into a smaller version of a bass boat that's called a kayak.
Yeah.
Okay? And it has limitations of length and so forth that we have. But do I see like the ESPN's picking this up? Maybe. I see shows out there. But remember, we're still in our infancy. Even though I've been doing this a long time, the infancy is, this thing is basically 3 to 5 years old. as far as the big time.
Yeah.
You know? And it's only going to get bigger as you get people getting into it. Remember too that, you know, there's a lot of recreational kayakers. How many are we going to get into the fishing part of it and want to fish competitively in it?
Yeah.
Here's something that you didn't bring up that I'd like to bring up, and maybe anybody else, is the retention of anglers.
That's a real thing.
The real thing too is that we're losing anglers.
Yeah.
You know, and we're gaining and we're losing. Some guys get into it, spend a lot of money, and like, I really don't like it. That's why I'm saying, upgrade yourself, gradually get yourself into it. Be careful, unless you're really like Mike Iaconelli. You know, yeah, I'm all in, man. Give me the best kayak you can get. You know, I'm not talking about skill level. I'm just talking about, you know, do you really want to do this? But at the same time, when these guys get in, I think it's up to you and me, guys that are experienced, to take these guys that are not as experienced and take them alongside and say, hey, man, how can I help you? What can I do to help you get better at this if you want to? Is there something that I can do that might make the experience better for you? Because some guys get frustrated and they might go out and have it in zero or skunk and they're like, I'm done with this. But it's not about that, guys. It's about getting out there, period.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite thing is seeing the sunrise. You know, and I take a picture every time I go out.
Yeah.
Or the sunset, depends. But you need the experience of it's the most important part. Even if you're in a tournament, you know, don't get so caught up in numbers that you forget about why you're out there. You know,
To me, I'm fairly new to fishing.
mm-hmm.
You know, I did not grow up with a rod in my hand.
Yeah.
I have a few memories as a child fishing.
Mm-hmm.
My dad really wasn't into it. You know, my grandpa was and still is, and I do get to fish with him quite a bit. But I'm fairly new to it, so I feel like in order to keep myself in it and not just, well, you know, I don't have a chance at winning, so I'm just gonna, you know, give up. You know, to me, it's just about learning new things. You know, when I'm going out there, trying to, you know, take something away from that experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Focus on like the little things. You know, okay, well, what did I learn today? Well, I learned today that I need to use the right rod for this jig, or, you know, whatever it could be. But take that, learn from it, and build on it.
Absolutely. Every time I go, I always ask myself that same question: is what can I take from this today that's going to help me become a better angler from it? And the other thing is, you win or you learn.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's, you know, that's basically it. When you win, you feel like, I know it all now. I need to go back out. Like, for instance, Table Rock, when I won that tournament, that day I got first, the next day I got last.
Yeah.
Just wasn't focused. You know,
different lake or
different, same lake. The only problem is I didn't know they were drawing water the next day, so I was pushing the edge, and they had sucked away from there, and I didn't, you know, I just made, you know, I made that mistake, but at the same time, I wasn't focused on what got me there, you know, and so didn't fish.
You could take, and you can even do this in a single event. You know, we just had a guy recently win a tournament, and it was like 1 o'clock. I ran into him, and he had one fish. You know, so you can take those days where maybe you really get your butt handed to you, and you learn from whatever, you know, hey, you know, I need to do this differently, and then you can use that to win the next event, or you know. But
one thing too, John, on that, you know, a lot of these tournaments are 8 hours. And I mean, when I was younger, I was a marathoner and all that, you know, and you had to, you know, pace yourself for that 26 miles to be able to finish. And so the deal with the tournaments is you have to have some resiliency and patience and endurance, and you have to be focused. And that's what's great about it, is it incorporates a lot of things, and you have to be a little bit in shape to do it if you're going to paddle. A lot of my fish have come in the last minute. Table Rock, I won in the last minute. National championship, you know, got a check there because I caught the fish in the last minute, but literally the last few seconds.
Really?
And to me, it's like, you know, can you grind it out for that 8 hours and then feel good about that effort, rather than, you know, after 4 hours go, you know what, I'm not doing very good, I'm done.
Yeah.
And that's the key, is So it carries into your life of finishing things, you know. So that for me, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
And I will fish hard until the last second, you know, of a tournament. I don't care how long it is. You know, if it's 10 hours, 8 hours, 6 hours, 3 hours, fish hard to the end. And that's one way of becoming a better angler without all of the bells and whistles, you know.
There's a huge mental part of
Yeah,
fishing
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Just staying in a good
Mhm.
positive mindset
Yeah,
can be difficult
yeah.
when everything's going wrong.
Now, another thing too is about resetting yourself. You know, sometimes you got to put your pole down, take some deep breaths, you know, after 4 hours and go, okay, I got this. I just need to step away just for a second, you know, and then regain your confidence and then get back after it again.
Yeah.
Sometimes it means getting out of your kayak, standing up, walk around a little bit. But if you do that reset, sometimes that gets you back in the game. It's just like a coach pulling you out to talk to you and say, look, hey man, get your act together. Use and get back in the game, you know. That kind
Yeah.
of thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
There's
I
nothing
get
wrong
it.
with that.
I know we missed some stuff here, but what do we got? CBG talking about where the future of kayak fishing. So he says to me, we're boiling right now, just waiting for it to blow the top off, and soon we'll see some bigger showdowns.
Mhm,
Hopefully, eventually, it'll be like MLF and Bassmaster for guys to choose from.
mhm.
And I
I like
think it is. It's just harder for somebody like you and I to make the time to, and we kind of talked about that, still fish the local stuff and
mhm,
travel around and fish the national
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah. And remember, I was a guy that put on tournaments, never fished them for quite a few years, and
yeah,
I just wanted to see others do it, you know? Now, for me, I put on an MLF event myself last week, and it's just a blast. I put one on a year, catch the most fish you can. I just love that stuff. A lot of guys, I don't know why it's not that popular in kayak fishing, but I love it, you know?
yeah. I took second in one of those
Yeah.
from Pond Warrior, but
Yeah.
that was one where he allowed you to fish private water.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So I went to Grandpa's and slayed him on the wacky
yeah,
rig, won a bunch of
yeah,
dinks.
yeah, that's fun.
Okay, Steven says he doesn't like getting in water he can't see the bottom to.
I'm there with you.
CBG says you need to get Christine to share her Z-Man Connect with you so you can get some more of those
No
Molten
kidding. Yeah,
Craws.
you know what? I do know this. I have bought more TRDs than anybody in the world. I can guarantee. I actually have boxes of them that I
Yeah,
bought, and the kit's kind of expensive, but those things, I mean, they work. The problem is that you shouldn't lose them, but I do for some reason. I lose them. You know
because they last forever, I thought.
they do, but the other thing is I give so many away.
Yeah.
When I see a kid struggling or a guy, I just, hey, can you want to try this, man? And they go, what is it? I go, that's called a Nico. And then they try it and they catch fish, and then they go out and they buy them.
That might be the most important question of
Mhm.
this whole entire podcast.
Yeah,
Nico or Neko?
Nico.
Okay. You guys heard it here.
Yeah, it's Nico.
Okay.
The other thing is a lot of guys are wanting, if any of you guys ever want to fish, and you want to come this way, uh, I'd be glad to meet up with you. If you want to invite me to where you're at when I retire, I'd be glad to do that. I'll have more time. I'll be doing more seminars at Bass Pros on stuff. I got some great topics for people. I am not a rocket scientist or a genius and all this stuff, but I just stuff that works for me, stuff that I've learned over the years, and little tips in the kayak that will help you become more successful landing your fish. Because I've made all the mistakes already through the years.
It's important. It's important to make those mistakes. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
um, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and feel
yeah,
like that's why I am where I am today. I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot,
yeah,
financially with my family. Got,
yeah, yeah,
come a long way, and
yeah.
it's because I've learned from those mistakes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
fishing, and you related fishing to our, you know, normal lives, and definitely patience is going to be a big one. But
Yeah,
um, and we'll wrap it up. We'll wrap it up here in the next few minutes. But
yeah.
tell me, what do you think are some of the most important life lessons or some of the most important takeaways from things on the water and how they might translate to your personal life?
I said a lot of them: patience, resiliency, stay the course, don't give up when things, because fishing's like that. I mean, there's going to be times, and here's my I say philosophy or
Okay.
or what,
Yeah.
but to me, there's times when the fish are biting, and it's usually mealtime, like right when the sun comes up, about noon, and usually at night. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, those are usually,
Yeah.
because in the morning you have the night feeders still going, and then you have the morning feeders getting started, so you have more fish biting there.
Sure.
And at night, you have the daytime guys still going and the nighttime bites coming on. And
Yep.
then and at midday, they get a little hungry. Well, in between those times, you're in a tournament, let's say, or you're fishing, and nope, you hardly see anybody fishing between, say, 9 and 11. They're not biting. Well, guess what? Have you been to a McDonald's lately?
It's always busy.
At 10 o'clock in the morning, there's always 2 or 3 cars there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I call those the drive-throughs. So there's always a drive-through bass ready to gulp something if you put it in front of them. So that's
right.
why you just keep casting. So in as far as transferring that into real life, don't let up. Just keep going hard, and good things will come your way. I would say too that one thing about the transfer from real life is problem solving. One thing in education that we try to teach kids, and that's one of my big things there, is teaching kids how to solve problems. If you show up, this is a real life experience. So you're going to show up fishing, give a great effort, and problem solve, and be coachable. You're going to be successful. I'm using 4 things there. You'll be successful, and that you can do that in fishing, and you do that in real life. A guy like you, if I went to work for you right now, you said, Marty, I'm going to hire you because you show up, you give a great effort, you're coachable, and what was my other one? Show up, give an effort, coachable.
Sorry, my dogs are barking
Oh,
in the
they're
background
barking.
and distracting
Show
me.
up, give a great effort, be coachable, and I can't remember.
Oh, you forgot. Oh, I thought you were testing me. I didn't realize you
I
forgot.
forgot. It's getting late for me too. But anyway, the thing about it is showing. If I showed up there to your business, you said, Marty, I like that you show up, you give a great effort, and you're coachable.
Yeah.
You would hire. We disappeared.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was me or you, so I just stayed quiet.
I thought that was my wife saying it's time for you to hit the hay, buddy. But anyway, did you hear that? So I don't know anything about your business, but you teach me because I have those 3 character traits to begin with.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So that's the transfer from fishing as well. Show up, give a great effort, be coachable from other people. Don't think you know it all. I mean, I don't.
Yeah. Definitely. Especially if people like you are willing to share. And
yeah.
And there needs to be more people like that. I think most of the people in our groups are. And I've heard, those compliments and comments where, hey, you've got a great group of guys and everybody's willing to share.
Yeah. James Francis, he is such a generous man that I've been at tournaments and I've been struggling, and he'll just pop by, hey, Marty, try this.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be.
Yep.
And I do the same for others.
I'll brag on myself for a second, but
okay.
I recently put Joel, or otherwise known as Fat Bass's TV, and he was struggling. I'm like, man, and I've been on him specifically lately, so I hope he's listening tonight. Just keep your head in the game, because if he's not catching fish, he gets discouraged, and I tried to, hey, man, like, we still got 4 hours left. Like, there's plenty of time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, cast at that point right there, and boom, he catches a fish. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what's all about. Like I said, the transfer again, the big thing is problem solving, figuring out that puzzle. That's what keeps us engaged.
Yep.
And I'm an educator, that. And my classroom is the same as a store in a shopping mall. How can I get them into my store and keep them there shopping? What do I need to do? I got to find some way to engage them, whether it's humor or the activity we're working on. How are we going to keep anglers in this and keep them going with what we're doing? Well, they got to have some kind of success. So help each other become successful. We grow together. And then when we have a tournament, hey, during the competition, yeah, I'm tough to live with because I'm competitive. But afterwards, I'm like, man, John, what a great day you had, man. Good job.
Yeah.
And what worked for you today? You don't tell me exactly what you did. I get the secret stuff and all that. But, hey, yeah, and John, you go, yeah, man, that Nico worked great for me today. Yeah, for me too. I just wish I'd have got that big one,
Yeah.
So that's what it's about. And then go have some food.
Heck yeah.
So that's where I'm at with it.
Heck yeah. No, I appreciate it, and I'm glad you agreed to be on the show. And I think our guests, or I guess not guests, but the guys in the live feed enjoyed it, and I'm sure plenty of people will play this thing back. So
yeah, it'd be great. I'm here to help anytime. I'm on Facebook under Marty Hughes. I have Marty Hughes Fishing. I don't use that one much, but it's there. Just I'll gradually grow it. I've got an Uncommon Educator blog thing that I do. That's good. And then on Instagram, Kayak Jack, YouTube, Kayak Jack.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm here to help people, and hopefully leave. My goal is leave a legacy that, this was a guy who helped people in kayak fishing, and that's why we are where we're at today.
Yeah.
That's all.
Heck yeah. No, that's important. We need more people like you, and hopefully you can leave that impression on some people watching, and they can do the same thing.
Absolutely. And take a kid fishing, please.
Take a kid fishing.
Yeah. Thanks, James. James, you're up late.
All right, man. Well, we'll have you on again sometime soon, and
that'd be great.
Hopefully we'll do some fishing together. Last time I was in your neck of the woods, it's been several years. It was at Wanahoo, Spooky Bass.
Yeah.
Probably like 2016, 17 maybe.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anyways, well,
hey, one thing though, a great topic would be organization. I've got a lot of stuff that could show guys on how to stay organized and keep it simple. But at the same time, if you want to have everything, I can show you some things that we've done here for organization.
Hey, yeah, if you want to come back and do that, we can.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And I'll use my phone and shine it around and show them all the stuff that kind of that like setting up and breaking down and having everything ready so that you're not always looking for stuff. Save time that way,
Heck yeah.
Because a lot of us, we can't, get off work and there's 2 hours of daylight. How are you going to get there quick, So that'd be.
And the other thing too that I've noticed about being prepared and having that organization is if it's not ready, if it's not easily accessible, I may not even mess with it. Yeah. So I won't even throw that bait if I feel like it's going to be a hassle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Here, real quick too, I'll show you I know we're running late here on it, but we could talk like this. But I have lists. So let me get to my list. So I have an at the ramp. Can you see that? Probably not.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
I have an at the ramp checklist.
Okay.
Like bailing device, checkout, fishing gloves, float plan, hook sharpener, marker buoy, med kit, phone charging cord, rain gear, safety flag, Yeti cup, crate, fishing license, fishing reels, flashlight. It just goes on and on. But this way, I do a checklist, just like a pilot in an airplane.
There you go.
Because you don't want to crash.
True.
So
I always forget something. I need to take some advice from you. Apparently.
Well, I never. And here's one that cracks a lot of guys up. I will eat my lunch in a tournament.
Yeah.
Like I'll sit and eat lunch, and it resets me.
Yeah. And I was going to mention that too. Like, just that's a really good time. If you feel yourself getting frustrated, that's a really good time to bust out the food.
Yeah. And I always finish with a cream soda or a root beer.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. ice cold. It's in my cooler, and
Ready to go.
A lot of guys in short think it's a beer, but it's not. It's cream soda.
Josh Lutz always has a cold beer at the end of every tournament. I've noticed he doesn't bring one to share. I've noticed as well.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll bring one or two to share. So anyway.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you joining us tonight. I'm going to go ahead and sign off as well.
Okay.
We're going to bring you back on for sure.
Okay. Sounds good, man. I'm glad to help you guys out, and I appreciate you, John, and what you've done, and you've helped me a lot. So I'm looking forward to the future with all you guys in Kansas as well. There is no border in kayak fishing.
Hey, I love it.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Good night, everybody.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. That's Marty Hughes, the godfather of kayak fishing, and really enjoyed having him on the show. An hour and 25 minutes just completely flew right by me. Seems like he's going to be excited to come back on and share some organizational stuff with us. So we'll have to get him back on in the near future. So, guys, appreciate you tuning in. Again, 500 subscriber giveaway just around the corner. Going to be releasing that video within the next day or two, and shooting for 1,000. So if you guys enjoyed this podcast, make sure you share it with your friends. You know, we're really starting to branch outside of the state of Kansas. And I'd really like to bring some people in from all around the region and eventually all around the country. So appreciate you guys. I'm signing out. Have a good one.